Hi guys, I'm Adam Wilborn from WhatCulture. Very pleased to say I am joined now by the legend that is William Regal. Sir, thank you so much for taking the chance to chat to us today.
Somebody else come in the room?
So Double or Nothing is this weekend. You can, of course, watch it on Fight. You arrived at AEW Revolution, of course. How are you feeling heading into Sunday and Anarchy in the Arena?
Obviously excited, and I'm having a great time at the moment with my time in AEW, and I'm looking forward to Sunday because anytime I get to see Chris Jericho get his head punched in, this is in reality. I've never liked him from the first day I met him, and I can't wait to. I hope somebody does him some severe damage, because I wished it was me, but those days are over for me. Because he's just the most obnoxious, annoying tosspot I know, and I'm not. I really mean that. I just find him. I feel like I'm the little child in the Emperor's New Clothes when everybody's going, "Oh, this fella's wonderful." And I'm looking up, just going, "No, he's just a absolute." Oh. Anyway, we'll get off that. It just winds me up as a proper trout slapper, and it winds me up. And I'm not joking about that. I really find him annoying.
I'm not surprised. You have a great deal of history with him, of course, and hopefully either your boys or Kingston Santana Ortiz will be able to get that.
I just batter the granny out of him, honestly.
I was going to ask you.
I'm going to revel in the fact when anybody gets hold of him and starts just punching his stupid face. Yeah.
I was going to ask you actually.
Wrong. Day one, I swear. I met him in 1997. And I walked into the show. It was at WCW, and I just went, "He's a wrong 'un," straight away. Yeah. I can read people quicker than they wish they could. He's a wrong 'un. I've never felt any different ever since.
Well, yeah, you call him a tosspot. You've called Daddy Magic.
It's only because I can't call him worse on TV. Or in any interview, it would get pretty severe if I went off fully on him. Yeah.
I was going to say, you're going to try and bring more British slang to AEW. You called them flower the other week, didn't you? I love knob.
I've always done it to a degree. What I feel like now is I've gone back to my Lord Stephen kind of a way. If you were, most people, it's out of there. It's so many years ago. It's 29 years ago when I first started doing that. But I always did everything I did. I knew that British people would be in on the act with me. Americans would hate it, and British. Well, now I've become whatever I am, whatever I am, right? Yeah. After all this time, but. In the last 10 years, I've been out there just delivering messages, which I was incredibly happy doing, and that was just a tiny part of my job of what I was doing. But now I'm just back to being a talent and a character. So the real me there's no idea. I've got no idea where it's going. There's just words come into my head. I still talk in the 80s sort of British language as far as I left there in 1993, and the last 4 years of my life, from before I came to America, I was never in England much. But I was a couple of months of the year, but I was either in Germany or India or Africa somewhere. I was just traveling. Me and my wife, because we met when I was 17. She's from one street away from where I lived in Blackpool. We still talk with Blackpool 80 slang. My nieces who live in Blackpool and nephews, they don't say the same words that we say. Like it's all that, but these things just come into my head, so I say them. And or there's all these references to old comedy, just things that anything. It just, at the moment, I'm going through all the stuff that I used to study as Lord Stephen or studied before I even became, though, not studied so much as of just a fan of. I'm going through reading all these books again, Kenneth Williams books and Sid James book, because it gives me that thing of I can have fun with this when I get the opportunity and so I'm back into that kind of mindset of just saying these things and they just come out and I enjoy myself and that's why I'm having such a lot of fun. And the reality of the group that I'm in is it's a real concept that we have of helping Wheeler, and he's in Japan at the moment, but we're in constant contact with him and helping him through things. I mean, he's made himself, which is incredible. Daniel Garcia is the same, or anybody else that's done this. They've made themselves noticed in COVID, which, and not in a major company until recently. Which is, you know, I was looking at them in NXT last year. They came. Yeah. It was right when they did. I was going to hire them, but it was right when they decided to change things, which was fine. They got an opportunity here, but you know, we're really the three of us are invested in giving Wheeler all our knowledge. So this is a real thing to it. You know, a lot of it is, and then we go out and get to perform. But we're all really in on helping, you know, and helping each other and learning from him and learning how he's, you know, this is a real thing that we're all getting into, and we just get to play our bits on TV. But it's that's why I think it's not even. You think about it, I've been here a few months now. Most storylines in anything don't last 3 months.
Yeah.
We haven't even scraped this. We haven't even started this really. And it's just beginning, and there's no end in sight to it, which is a great thing when you're part of something like that.
It's fantastic to see how this has developed already, in this exclusive club, like you say, the addition of Wheeler Yuta. If you were... Well, first of all, I was going to ask you whether there are any other names considered, because Blackpool Combat Club is such an iconic name. Like, was there any other? I know you spoke about it with, I think, Brian Danielson. You and him were first sort of initially discussed this idea, this concept. Yes. Was there any other names considered?
There was a few names considered, and there still is. But at the moment, and this is a reality thing, we are all concentrating on helping Wheeler.
No, I mean in terms of, I mean also as well as that.
Yeah. There's other people out there that we watch, but also we were all of the opinion at first. It was, oh yes, we can do this, but now it's those. If we took all the young great wrestlers that are around in AEW, okay, who are they supposed to wrestle?
Yes, granted.
You've got right. If we put all of our energies into Wheeler, and then they get to wrestle Wheeler, that is how you get better, is wrestling better wrestlers. And that's a reality based thing that worked for me and worked for all of us when we were younger. So if you take all the wrestlers off the table, then you've got who actually like that a wrestling style. Who are they supposed to wrestle? I know that personally when I came to America. There's only a few people I could do what I did best. You end up doing a lot of strikes and kicks instead of actually wrestling. So, yes, there are plenty, but we're also keeping an eye on that. But we're also keeping an eye on the fact that, we need opponents for Wheeler or for John or for Brian. And it's so... Some of the names mentioned, we've had discussions. It's like, no, maybe they're just left because we need people that, and they will learn and maybe become a part of this, but they will learn if they have to wrestle us.
Yeah,
and that's happened every single week that John and Brian or Wheeler have wrestled somebody against these young lads. They're all getting incredible experience. Well, if you take them into that group, they're going to get it, but not first hand in the ring, actually getting good hiding and figuring, right? But you learn from that if you're smart, and they'll go away and learn.
In terms of like the title, I meant of Blackpool Combat Club. I was going to ask that question about members as well, but also, was there any other names the unit considered?
No, right. So that name, there was no name at first, and John Moxley came up with that name, and I was like, you really want to call it that? Because everybody was saying different things. I didn't feel like it was my place to say anything, because I was brought in to be a part of this for the right reasons, and it's their gig, right? It's John and Brian's gig, and then John came up with a name, and I was like, "You sure you want to call it that?" He said, "Yeah, because without this whole thing is because we both know you, and that's where you started wrestling. There's like a couple of other people that are original members of that nobody knows about, would be Robbie Brookside and Frankie Sloan, because they both started at the Blackpool Pleasure Beach like me. We all started that was the Horseshoe Show Bar there. There was a group, there's us called that. We used to call ourselves the Horseshoe Show Bar Boys, like that. We were started by Bobby Barron's promotion in Blackpool, and really Frankie and Robbie, especially Robbie and Frankie, have both had a big hand in Daniel Bryan's. Sorry, I can still say that, but Brian Danielson's career. They had a huge part in his career because when I sent him over to England, they were the people I sent him over to help get him to be a better wrestler. So they're actually OG members of BCC.
The alumni.
John Moxley's idea. It wasn't my idea.
You mentioned there about obviously learning from each other and teaching Wheeler and things like that. And obviously you had a major role to play in WWE, in NXT. You mentioned there earlier, it's kind of more of a, you're more involved in the whole Blackpool Combat Club thing. Do you have a role to play in AEW backstage? And do people still come to you? Do the likes of Tony Khan still talk to you? Because a wrestling mind like yourself is surely invaluable back there.
I get to the building early. I'm there at 11 o'clock and I'm out by the ring. My phone stays in my bag. I check it twice a day. My wife, that's how, until I had the last job that I had, that's how I've always operated. When I'm at work, I'm trying to learn something. Mm-hmm. I'm out at the ring 11 o'clock every day, 11 o'clock Eastern time every day that we have a show. And whoever decides to turn up, if they want to train me, and I want to learn from them as much as they can, because everybody, the new generation comes along, have different ways of doing stuff. I want to learn all this stuff as well. I'm there, and I can tell you that Brian's there. John likes to lie in a little bit sometimes, but we're there, and John does come out. But me and Brian are there 11 o'clock, and we're training people. If people want to come, we'll. But if nothing else, there's me, John, Brian, and Wheeler, and we're training. And then you see other people watching it. Look, do you want to get in here because we're doing this? Do you want to? Or I'm walking around, and I know such a lot of people, because I don't want to sound like it's about me, but I had most of this crew. I hired them, right? So in my former job, it was my job to actually hire the wrestlers for NXT, so that, not the athletes, but the wrestlers. So I've got great connections with loads of them, and a lot of them come up to me and, can you, sure, I'm working on this, can you help me with this? And oh, well, I don't know, but let me have a think. Or sometimes it's a text of somebody I know that knows how to do something, but what about this? Oh, and they'll send me a link to a bit of film. Okay, so that's what I do. Yes, I am having but as an official role, no. This is just what I do normally. I'm in as talent, but I'm there, and you can. My brain's yours, and my whatever I know or I don't know is yours for the taking. If you want to put the work in. If I see you sat around on your phone all day, I'm probably not going to give you the time of day.
Yes,
because to me, if you're at work, you should be learning something.
I agree.
That's my opinion, and if that offends anybody, that's their problem. That's why Wheeler's got to where he's got to. That's why Brian's got to where he's got to. John's got to where he's got to. Because we study this job. And we're working on it when we got to work on it. We're not wasting the time looking at other things.
Now, speaking of people who are in need of a bloody good thrashing, I'd love to know your thoughts on Maxwell Jacob Friedman, because he is someone who myself and most wrestling fans can see becoming the biggest star in wrestling.
I think he's fantastic. I'm a huge fan. I was getting to know him very early on in his career, and then things went a bit pear-shaped with me for a couple of years. In 2018, I had pretty much a year off, apart from a couple of months, and it's come out a bit recently, but a lot of things went on. And I was out of the game for quite a bit. And then he went on his way and made a name for himself. And I was just glad when I saw him that he came to AEW and had a chance, because I knew back when I met him, there was something special about him. And we'd spent time together, and I'd had him send me a few things. And I'd actually, at one point, because I knew there was something special with a lot of people, you have to I've learned to read people, and I can read them quicker than they wish they could. It was funny because he actually took it the wrong way. After a while, he was sending me stuff, and I said, look, don't send me any more. Go out and prove it. Go out and show it, because he was too young to get hired by the WWE at the time. Isla Bate changed that thing because he was 19, but it was the UK thing. They didn't like to hire anybody under 20-something because of getting rental cars and different things, right? It was just or mature, whatever whatever the reasons were, that was, and he wasn't that age. So I said, I just sent him a thing like, whereas I would help, just look, I know how good you are, go and sort yourself out. Hoping it would kick him up the backside. Well, it did, right? When I saw him the first time when I came in, he was like, I said, I remember talking to you and that. And again, things went a bit hazy for me in 18. So it like, I couldn't, there was things I was trying to piece together. He went, yeah, well, you really told me to, bugger off. And I was like, no, I would never have done that. Never hear any stories of me telling anybody doing that. And he said, actually, I've still got the email. I said, show it to me. I said, that's not me. That's me telling you to. No, that's a different thing of me babying you. That's me knowing you've got something in you. It's no different than me sending Brian to England to, he's a 20. You send him to go and work on Butlins doing 2,000 mile a week. It's a culture shock, right? But this is me in an email saying, I know how good you are. Go and show the world now, or find a place to work so you can prove that. And then I know you. But then we lost contact, and then he came here. I'm a huge fan of it. There's very few people want to be actual villains in this job. He wants to be a villain and be a real villain. And that's, when I had the chat, there was many parts of my career, but you give me the chance to be, when I was a real villain, I was a real villain, and people didn't like me. And I could go from comedy to that in a second. It didn't matter because people truly didn't like me. But I had to work on that. Well, he's got this magic thing that he's worked on and found his spot. When you see people like that, I have nothing but, I love it, because I nothing but admiration for that. It takes a lot of guts to do that, to really go out there and not, because you put yourself on the line. Even in this day and age, if you're willing to offend people or to take it to another level, there's not many people who really go there, right? And he's gone there, and I'm a big fan. So I hope and I know he's going to do incredible things. So good for him.
Well, William, it's been a pleasure to chat to you. Speaking of villains, your Gentleman Villain podcast comes our way on June the 2nd. Cannot wait to hear that.
All right, yeah, we've done it. We've done 3 of them up to now, and it's going to be completely different than anything because I have a very different view on this job than most, because they live in the wrestling bubble, and I don't. I never have done. I look at it from out here and just sort of have a very open view. So it's going to be my versions of whatever's going on and what I was thinking at the time, and my life, and hopefully a lot of lessons of not what to do and how to get through this world, and a lot of fun. I've lived a lot of lives, so there's a lot of funny stories, a lot of bad stories, there's a lot of all kinds. But it's my life. It's not anything like anybody else about reading off such and such or such and such. I swear to you, I have never once read a review of any match I've ever had, ever, because I don't need to. By the time I got to here, and I know this is on the time, but I'd rather finish it up. By the time I got to here, I'd have all the best wrestlers in Europe were helping me.
Yeah.
And then some of them came over here. Or when I came over here, I got Arn Anderson, I got Ric Flair, I got people like that, Ricky Stimmer. If I came back and they didn't say anything, I knew I'd done good.
Yes.
That's all I needed. I don't need anybody else telling me. I need the professionals who I think are better than me. That's all because I was brought up differently. So you get a very different view of this, which is going to make it, and it might be the shortest podcast in all time. I might run out of stuff after 6 months, right? But we'll give it a go.
We'll look forward to that on June the 2nd. And we'll look forward to Double or Nothing on Sunday, which, of course, can watch on Fight. My thanks to William Regal. Yes. Thanks for chatting to us today.
Just watch Chris Jericho get his head pounded in, because I can't honestly.